Hey, good morning, everybody. And so the leadership contest for the fake Conservative Party is down to the final three candidates, and they are all absolutely appalling and terrible. Yesterday, of course, Kemi Badenoch was knocked out. Now, I wasn't supporting her, but I did say that she was the least worst candidate, and actually on some issues was rather good. She was against critical race theory, against quite a lot of the wokery that was there and cultural issues and so on. But she still was not good on lockdowns, injections, Ukraine. Like everybody, she said, I would not sit down and talk with Vladimir Putin. They are following the same narrative that they're going to win the war in Ukraine, even though we're not actually at war officially, and there's no thinking outside the box from these people who are just following the groupthink from the Council of Foreign Relations and so on. So she would have been the least worst, but she's out. Those three are all World Economic Forum stooges, and they would take the country back into lockdown, I imagine, without any hesitation whatsoever, if that was the plan by the puppet masters to get the world governments acting in lockstep together to implement some terrible thing like digital identity, social credit, etc., etc. Even on economics, they're all appalling. Rishi Sunak was the one who increased our national debt by £500 billion, baking in inflation of at least 25%, because our national debt has gone up by 25% under him. And he's got the gall to say, we now need to get a grip on inflation, and he's the one to do it, when he was the one who's caused the inflation that we've got now in very large measure because of what happened in the lockdowns. But they are all signed up to this ridiculous net zero ideology, climate alarmist ideology, where they want to reduce carbon dioxide emissions to net zero, either by 2050 or 2030, completely destroying all of our existing energy production infrastructure, coal power stations, gas power stations, petrol cars, diesel cars. They even want to get rid of gas boiler central heating, and get homes to replace them with heat pumps connected to smart meters. What a hellish world that would be. Now, Liz Truss says that she doesn't want to raise taxes, but to pay for that, she will increase borrowing, and she actually suggests that, well, our national debt is not so bad as America and Japan, so we've got scope for increasing our national debt and our annual budget deficit. I mean, that's kind of like saying we're better at sport than San Marino and Andorra, therefore we might win a football match against them. I mean, comparing your fiscal situation to the United States under Biden or Japan is really not anything to write home about or boast about. We need to not increase taxes, and we need to reduce borrowing as well. And the way to do that is to reduce spending, because this government spends huge amounts of money on things that are a complete waste and don't benefit the people of this country at all. That's just the economics. Penny Mordaunt, the other one, is so woke that she can't properly define the difference between a man and a woman, saying that trans men are men and trans women are women, whatever that means. But that's the sort of mantra that these woke liberal progressives suggest. I mean, she would be quite good to stand in the leadership of the Labour Party or the Green Party, but not the supposed Conservative Party, which is why it's actually a fake Conservative Party, because it's full of people who aren't actual Conservatives. So the next leader of the fake Conservative Party is going to be a disaster, and it's going to be tough for our country to have someone who is worse than Johnson. It doesn't seem possible that there could be someone who's worse than Johnson, but that's what we're going to get. Now, look, in the short term, this is going to be bad. if Badenoch had won, there would be a little bit of respite from the crazy wokery that we're getting, maybe not in other things. As I said, she would still be stoking up the fires of conflict in Ukraine, it seems, from the little things that she said about that. But that's not going to happen now. And in the long term, I think that's better for our country, because the fake Conservative Party needs to collapse and die and be gone, because it is a disaster. And all Badenoch would have done is give people some kind of false hope that it's going to change and reform itself, and that there is hope in it, and the people who are staying on in the Conservative Party to be in there and make a difference would be thinking that, okay, whoa, I've made a difference. I'll stay here for another few years and see if we can redeem this irredeemable mess of an institution that has been totally wrecked. No, you can't redeem it. It's irredeemable, and it's got to be gone. It's got to collapse and go. As has the Labour Party, which no longer represents the labouring man in any sense or form whatsoever, and is, again, there is no difference really between Penny Mordaunt, Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak, Keir Starmer, that I can see. Maybe tiny little differences within a tiny little Overton window that they're allowed, but on the really important things, there isn't much of a difference between any of them. It's just one big centrist, Blairite, New World Order, World Economic Forum controlled blob, which is acting against the best interests of the people of this country. And of course, they're connected to other centrist, globalist governments around the world who are not interested in the interests of their citizens either, and are acting in lockstep together to implement their New World Order, Build Back Better program. So the Tory party's got to die. So what's going to happen? We're here in the Heritage Party to pick up the pieces. We have a proper socially conservative, fiscally conservative manifesto. Nothing to do with the fake Conservative Party, but it's just simple common sense that everyone would have said was common sense 30 or 40 years ago. Financial responsibility. Don't spend more than what you've got. Don't keep on borrowing to spend money on things that the people of this country don't need. Like foreign aid, like hotels for migrants, like HS2, spent lots of money on EU membership fees for over 40 years and still paying money to the EU even today, and also arming national socialists in Ukraine and things like this, and funding thousands and thousands of quangos, non-governmental organizations, which should really be doing their own fundraising and not getting money from central government to actually keep on with their own political agendas, because most NGOs, or a lot of NGOs, are political and politicized, and they're there to lobby the government and other political parties round to a certain political position, but they're funded by the government. Government should not be funding NGOs to then lobby the government with taxpayers' money. If they want to lobby the government, if they want to be political, they should raise their own money. They shouldn't get anything from the government. So that's anything from Stonewall, for example, which is a real NGO, to the what's it called, Equalities and Human Rights Commission, which is a quango. It's a government organised NGO, to the BBC, which is a parastatal organisation, gets lots of money from the government. All of these things need to be defunded and left to fend for themselves in the free market, and they shouldn't be part of the state or funded by the state in the third sector, public-private partnership beast, which was vastly inflated and bloated and expanded under Tony Blair's regime. That's where we could save a huge amount of money and stop increasing the national debt and put it back into what we really want to spend it on, which is proper frontline public services. Now, that includes here in the UK things like education, like health, like police, like probation, like the military. Obviously, you've got to fund that from the government, the courts, and so on, things like that, but not political pressure groups. So that's financial responsibility. We stand for that. We stand for, in the Heritage Party, traditional family values, and really important is to stop the sexualization of children and the undermining of traditional values and pride in our nation, our culture, which is going on in schools through activist teachers, but they are backed and tacitly supported by all the political parties, including the fake Conservative Party, and most of the MPs here voted for compulsory relationships and sex education right down into primary schools to 4 or 5 years old, which is absolutely horrendous. Kids should be kids. They shouldn't be subject to transgender, LGBT, QQIAPP propaganda, or critical race theory propaganda, or climate alarmist propaganda, which is deliberately done to scare the heebie-jeebies out of children so that they become political activists for something that is a fallacy. They're being made to be frightened of carbon dioxide, which is a natural gas that's in the atmosphere and is good for plants. And this is what children are taught in science these days, rather than actual science, which is about all the great things that people have discovered in the past, and then teaching people how to discover new things impartially, which will benefit us in the future. So that's just another thing that we stand for, as well as controlling our borders, self-sufficiency in skills and energy, and looking after our green spaces. Now, that doesn't mean getting on board with the whole green agenda. What it means is leaving our countryside as countryside and not building loads of houses over it, not building solar panels on prime agricultural land, not wrecking the seabed with offshore wind farms that don't produce any or much energy, in fact need more energy to construct them, build them, take them down than they produce in their entire 10 to 20 year life cycle, which is utterly ridiculous. So hopefully you thought all of those things I've just said in the last 5 minutes are common sense, and they're not represented by any other party in the UK apart from the Heritage Party. We need your help. We need you to join us. Become a member, and if you want to, then if you're a member, you can apply to be a candidate and stand in elections, because we've got to get rid of these dreadful parties that have been leading our country down the drain and into managed decline for the last 30 years or so, and restore our great nation to what it should be. Please come and join us. heritageparty.org is our website, and also, if you could, give me a thumbs up to this video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you have a lovely day. God bless you all.